I never thought I would spend Thanksgiving alone in my empty apartment listening to the sound of laughter from families down the hall while I sat at a table set for one. 3 months ago, my life was different. My mom would be in the kitchen making her famous pozole. My dad would be telling stories that made everyone laugh, and I would be surrounded by the people I loved most. But one phone call, one lie from someone I barely knew, changed everything. My own family looked at me like I was a stranger, like 27 years of trust could vanish in a single moment. And the worst part, my own blood believed her over me. Before I tell you how my entire life fell apart over a lie, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below and hit that subscribe button, because what happened next will show you just how fast family loyalty can crumble when doubt creeps in. This story gets darker before it gets better, so stick around until the end. You will not believe how this turned out. My name is Santiago. I am 27 years old, and up until 3 months ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I work as a software engineer at a tech startup in Seattle, pulling in a solid six-figure salary. I live in a nice apartment in Capitol Hill, and I was actually looking at houses thinking about putting down roots. My parents live about 20 minutes away, and I would call them every single day. We would have dinner together every weekend. My dad is a retired carpenter, the kind of man who built everything with his hands and taught me the value of hard work. My mom is a nurse who spent 30 years taking care of other people before taking care of herself. They raised me and my younger sister Lucia with strong family values, the kind where you show up for each other no matter what. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and they were so proud of that. I was their son, their pride, their example of what you can achieve if you work hard enough. Then there is Dylan. He has been my best friend since high school. We played football together, went to the same college, stayed close, even when life got busy. Our friendship was the kind where you do not need to talk every day to know the other person has your back. We trusted each other with everything. His family was like my second family. I had been to 100 barbecues at his house, celebrated birthdays, graduations, all of it. His younger sister Jasmine was 23, fresh out of college, working at some retail clothing store downtown, while she figured out what she wanted to do with her life. I had met her a handful of times at family gatherings. We would say, hello, make small talk about the weather, or her classes, nothing more. She seemed nice enough, maybe a little attention-seeking, but I never thought much of it. She was Dylan's little sister. That was the extent of our relationship. Then one Friday night, everything shattered. I was at home working on a project that had a brutal deadline. It was around 9 p.m. when my phone rang. Dylan's name flashed on the screen. I picked up expecting him to ask if I wanted to grab a beer or catch a game that weekend. Instead, his voice was cold, strained nothing like the easygoing tone I was used to. He said we needed to talk. Right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. I felt my stomach drop. Something was seriously wrong. I asked him what happened, but he would not say over the phone. He insisted we meet in person. We agreed to meet at our usual coffee shop, the place we had been going to for the past 10 years, the place where we had celebrated job offers and complained about bad dates and talked about life. When Dylan walked in, I knew instantly that this was not going to be a normal conversation. He did not smile. He did not do our usual handshake. He just sat down across from me, his jaw tight, his eyes avoiding mine. Then he said the words that turned my entire world upside down. Jasmine is pregnant, and she says, "It is yours." I remember the way time seemed to stop. I stared at him, trying to process what he had just said, wondering if I had heard him wrong. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. I said that was impossible. I had never touched his sister. We barely even talked. But Dylan did not believe me. He said Jasmine told him we had hooked up at his birthday party 3 months ago. I thought back to that night. I had gone to the party, sure, but I left early because I had to work the next morning. I was there for maybe 2 hours, had one beer, talked to a few people, and then drove home. I was in bed by 10 p.m. I swore to him on everything that mattered that nothing had happened. But he kept shaking his head. He asked me why his sister would lie about something like this. She was family. Why would she make this up? I had no answer. I just knew I was telling the truth. The conversation ended with Dylan standing up and walking out, saying he was going to tell my parents. I sat there in that coffee shop, feeling like my life had just been pulled out from under me. That same night, Dylan's family called my parents. Around 11 p.m., my phone rang again. This time, it was my dad. His voice was cold, distant nothing, like the warm tone I had grown up hearing. He asked if it was true. I tried to explain everything, but he cut me off. He said we needed to talk face to face the next morning. I did not sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through every possible scenario, trying to figure out how I was going to prove my innocence when no one seemed willing to listen. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house with a knot in my stomach. When I walked in, both families were there. Dylan's parents, Dylan, Jasmine, and my own mom and dad. Even my sister Lucia was there, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed, looking at me like I was a stranger. Jasmine sat in the armchair, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes red, like she had been crying. She looked small, fragile like a victim. And maybe that was the point. Dylan's mom stood near her protective, while his dad paced back and forth like he was ready to explode. My parents sat on the opposite couch, their faces etched with disappointment. I had never seen them look at me like that before. It hurt more than anything anyone could have said. Jasmine started talking. She said that at the party I had been drinking, and we started talking privately. She said we went outside to the porch, then upstairs to the guest room. Her voice trembled as she described it, saying everything happened so fast, and she did not know what to do. She said she tried to keep it a secret, but now that she was pregnant, she had no choice but to tell the truth. She even cried as she spoke, and I watched everyone in the room soften toward her. I felt like I was in a nightmare. I spoke up immediately. I told them I left the party at 9:30 because I had to work early. I said they could check the security footage at my apartment building. I was home by 10 p.m. I pulled out my phone and showed them my location history, the messages I had sent to my coworker about the morning deadline. I looked directly at Jasmine and said we should do a paternity test right then and there. I would pay for it. Let the science speak. But Dylan's mom practically screamed at me. She asked if I was really going to traumatize her daughter even more. His dad said a DNA test was my solution, like I wanted to drag this out and make his daughter look like a liar. And then the moment that broke me, I turned to my own parents, expecting them to defend me, to tell everyone that their son would never do something like this, but they just sat there, silent. My mom's hands were shaking. My dad would not even look at me. Finally, my mom spoke her voice, barely above a whisper. She asked how I could do this to Dylan's family, to people who trusted me. I looked at my dad, the man who taught me how to be honest, how to stand up for what is right. I asked him if he really thought I would do this. He did not answer right away. When he finally spoke, his words felt like a knife. He said he did not know what to think anymore, but that girl was crying, and she had no reason to lie. That was it. My own father did not believe me. My own mother thought I was capable of this. The people who were supposed to know me better than anyone else had already made up their minds. My dad told me not to come back to their house until I took responsibility. My mom cried, but said nothing in my defense. Lucia just shook her head, disappointment written all over her face. I walked out of that house, the house I grew up in, knowing that everything I had built with my family was gone. The days that followed were some of the darkest of my life. I called my parents every single day. No one picked up. I sent text messages, trying to explain, trying to make them see reason. My messages were read, but never answered. Eventually, I realized they had blocked me. I drove to their house one afternoon and knocked on the door. I could see movement inside, but no one opened it. I stood there for 10 minutes, knocking, calling out, begging them to just listen to me. Nothing. I went to work, but I could not focus. I made mistakes in my code, missed meetings, stared blankly at my screen, while my mind replayed that awful morning over and over. My boss called me into his office and asked if everything was okay. I told him it was just family issues, but I could see the concern in his eyes. I stopped going to family gatherings, obviously. Friends who were mutual with Dylan started avoiding me. Word had spread. I was the guy who got his best friend's sister pregnant and refused to take responsibility. I was the villain in a story I did not even write. I felt completely isolated, like I was trapped in a glass box, screaming, and no one could hear me. At night, I would sit in my apartment and look at old family photos on my shelf. Pictures of me and my dad building a treehouse when I was 8. Pictures of my mom cheering at my high school graduation. Pictures of all of us at Christmas smiling like nothing in the world could ever come between us. I wondered if I would ever get that back. I wondered what I had done to deserve this. I was angry at Jasmine, but more than that, I was confused. Why me? What did she have to gain by destroying my life? I did not have answers. All I had was the truth, and apparently the truth was not enough. After 2 weeks of living in hell, I made a decision. I was not going to just sit there and let this destroy me. If my family would not believe me, then I was going to make the truth so undeniable that they had no choice. I started researching my rights. I learned that no one could legally force me to be declared a father without DNA evidence. I found a lawyer who specialized in family law. Her name was Angela Brooks, a woman in her mid-40s with over 20 years of experience. I sat in her office and told her everything. She listened carefully, took notes, and when I finished, she looked me in the eye and said she believed me. That moment, hearing someone say they believed me, almost made me break down. She explained that I had every right to demand a paternity test. No one could make me accept responsibility without proof. She suggested we send a formal letter to Jasmine's family requesting a DNA test as soon as the baby was born. If they refused, we could take it to court. We sent the letter. It was professional, straightforward, and left no room for negotiation. The letter stated that I was requesting a paternity test immediately after the child was born, and until that test was completed, I would not accept any financial responsibility. It also made clear that if the test proved I was not the father, I would consider legal action for defamation. The response was explosive. Dylan's family called me heartless and cruel. They said I was trying to weasel out of my responsibilities. My parents called me for the first time in 2 weeks, but it was not to apologize. They were furious. My dad asked if I had lost my mind taking them to court. I told him I was not the father, and I was going to prove it. I said that when the test came back, every single one of them owed me an apology. My dad said I was tearing the family apart. I shot back that a lie was tearing us apart, and I was just trying to expose it. He hung up on me. The months that followed were lonely. I threw myself into work because it was the only thing that kept me from spiraling. Jasmine gave birth in her 9th month, a baby boy. I did not see pictures. I did not ask questions. I just waited for the day we could do the test. When that day finally came, I met them at a medical lab. My lawyer was there as a witness. Jasmine walked in, holding the baby, avoiding eye contact with me. The tension in that room was suffocating. A lab technician explained the process and took swabs from the inside of my cheek and the baby's. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. The technician said results would be ready in 7 to 10 days. As I looked at the baby, I felt a strange pang of guilt. This innocent child was being dragged into a mess he had nothing to do with. But I pushed that feeling aside. I needed the truth. Those 7 days felt like 7 years. I barely ate. I barely slept. Even though I knew I was right, there was a tiny irrational part of me that worried. What if somehow I was wrong? What if my memory was faulty? But deep down, I knew. I had done nothing wrong. When the email finally came, I opened it with trembling hands. The PDF loaded slowly, and then I saw it. Probability of paternity 0%. Santiago is excluded as the biological father. I read it 3 times to make sure I was not imagining it. Relief flooded through me so intensely, I had to sit down. I knew it. I knew I was right. But right behind that relief was anger. Anger at everything I had been put through. Anger at the people who were supposed to love me, but chose to believe a lie instead. My lawyer sent the results to both families. I also sent an email directly to my parents. The subject line was simple: the truth you refuse to believe. I attached the DNA test results and did not write anything else. Within an hour, my phone started ringing nonstop. My mom called sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. She kept saying she was sorry, over and over, calling me mijo, begging me to forgive her. My dad called next, his voice thick and broken. He said he did not know what to say. My sister Lucia sent me a long text message saying she was the worst sister in the world, and she should have believed me from the start. Dylan called too. His voice was quiet, ashamed. He said everything was messed up, and he did not know what had happened. I let the phone ring. I did not answer any of them. I needed time to process everything, to sit with the fact that I had been right all along, and it had cost me everything. A few days later, Dylan called again. This time, I answered. He told me the full story. Jasmine had finally admitted the truth. She did not know who the father was. There had been another guy, someone she had a brief fling with, and when she found out she was pregnant, he wanted nothing to do with it. She panicked. She was scared and did not know what to do. So she chose me. She chose me because I seemed stable, because I had a good job, because she thought I would be easy to pin it on. Dylan said she thought if she named me, the families would pressure me into taking responsibility. It was calculated. It was cold. And it destroyed my life because it was convenient for her. Dylan apologized repeatedly. He said he did not know what to say, that he had failed me as a friend. I told him the truth hurt. 10 years of friendship, and he believed her over me without hesitation. He had no response to that. What could he say? A few days after the test results came out, my parents showed up at my apartment. I did not invite them. They just appeared at my door one evening. My dad was holding a bag of takeout, my mom clutching a handwritten letter. They stood there, not daring to step inside until I let them. My mom's eyes were red and swollen. She looked like she had not stopped crying in days. She whispered, "Please forgive us. We failed you." My dad, the man who had always been so strong, looked smaller somehow. He said he was supposed to protect me, to believe in me, and he had not done that. I let them in. We sat in my living room, the same place where I had spent countless nights alone, wondering if I would ever have my family back. They explained that when they saw Jasmine crying, they could not imagine someone lying about something so serious. They said they were wrong, completely, and horribly wrong. They asked me to come home to join them for dinner, to be part of the family again. Lucia sent me a video message too. She was crying, saying she regretted not standing by me, that she was ashamed of herself. I listened to all of it. I was not angry anymore. Anger had burned itself out weeks ago. But I was not ready to forgive either. I told them I needed time. What they did, choosing to believe a stranger over their own son, hurt more than anything I had ever experienced. It was not just about them not believing me. It was about them abandoning me when I needed them most. My dad nodded. He understood. My mom squeezed my hand and said they would wait as long as it took. The weeks that followed were slow. I started accepting invitations to family dinners again. The first one was awkward. We sat around the table in near silence, everyone too afraid to say the wrong thing. My mom cooked all my favorite dishes, trying to make up for lost time. My dad tried to tell jokes like he used to, but they fell flat. Lucia hugged me so tight, I thought she might break my ribs. She apologized again, and I told her it was okay. It was not okay yet, not really, but it would be. Healing takes time. I learned that forgiveness is not something you do all at once. It is a process, a series of small steps. Each dinner got a little easier. Each phone call felt a little less forced. I was learning to let go of the anger, not because they deserved it right away, but because holding on to it was destroying me from the inside. Dylan and I eventually met up too, about 2 months after everything came out. We sat at that same coffee shop where this nightmare had started. It was strange sitting across from someone who used to feel like a brother and now felt like a stranger. He apologized again. He admitted that he chose blood over friendship and that it was the wrong choice. I told him we could not go back to the way things were. Too much had been broken. But maybe in time we could build something new. We were not best friends anymore, but we did not have to be enemies either. As for Jasmine, I never spoke to her. I heard through Dylan that she was raising the baby on her own with help from her family. I did not seek her out. I did not confront her. She had to live with what she did. That was punishment enough. I did not need revenge. I just needed peace. Looking back on everything, I realize I learned something important. Trust is fragile. It can take years to build and seconds to destroy. But the truth, no matter how long it takes, always comes out. I learned that standing your ground when no one believes you is one of the hardest things you will ever do, but it is also one of the most important. I learned that forgiveness is not about letting people off the hook. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of anger. My relationship with my family is different now. There is a crack that will always be there. But cracks can be filled. We are more careful with each other now, more aware of how quickly things can fall apart. My parents understand they are not perfect, and honestly, that makes our relationship more real. I am stronger now too. I know I can stand on my own if I have to. I am not afraid of being alone anymore because I survived the worst and came out the other side. They say blood is thicker than water. But I learned that truth is thicker than blood. My family came back, and I let them in one careful step at a time. Not because I had to, but because I chose to. And that choice, that power to forgive on my own terms, that is what set me free. If you are ever in a situation where no one believes you, where the lie seems louder than the truth, just remember this. Stand your ground. The truth might take its time, but it always finds its way to the light. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where people doubted you, where you had to fight to prove your innocence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And do not forget to subscribe, because I share real stories about real struggles, and your support means everything. Thank you for listening, and I hope you find your own truth, whatever that may be. Stay strong.